So my name is Grace Nzula, and I am the host of Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, which is the webinar series that you're tuned on to this evening. And it's really good to see you guys. I have really missed you. That 2 weeks was very long. In fact, the first Tuesday was like, so what do I do with myself now? Because we've been doing this for the last 4 years. We started in 2020. We are now in 2020. We are in 2020 what now? 2024. And we're on season 6 of Get It Right with the Tara Solution. So you can imagine, for the last 4 years, every Tuesday we are here, and then we took a break. I was like, oh my God, what do we do now? But anyway, here we are. I'm excited that we are back. So my name is Grace Nzula. I'm a HR consultant and trainer with the Tara Solutions. Atara Solutions is an organization that supports human resources. We offer 4 services. That is human resource consulting. We offer recruitment and selection. We also offer human resource HR manager outsourced. And also we do learning and development. And that's part of what we do. This program is called Get It Right with Atara Solutions. You can check us out on YouTube, and you can get to catch up with all the webinars that you may have missed or wished to listen to again. All the recordings are there. We have amazing conversations that we've had. Can you imagine, since 2020 to now? Whether you're a job seeker, whether you're a practitioner, there's a lot for you there. And of course, my co-host is here with us, Madam Catherine Sidandi. She supports us in making us inclusive. She is a sign language interpreter. She does an amazing job. So if you have opportunities to engage Catherine Sidandi, please do so, because we ought to have inclusive workplaces. And you all know that diversity, inclusion, and belonging is not an option. It's a must-have in your organization. So please, let's take advantage, include Catherine Sidandi as well, to support you in being inclusive in your organizations, in your events, in your learning and development programs, because we need to reach out to everybody. So Get It Right with the Tara Solutions is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with a number of organizations. Allow me to just quickly give them a shout out. I think I got engaged in the music and forgot to go live on YouTube previously. Nonetheless, here we are. We have Pathway Solution Services. We have Nilefront. Nilefront Cottages is such an amazing place down in Ginger. For the Ugandans on the call, please visit Nilefront Cottages. That place is so beautiful. It is so amazing. And guess what? It's also run by one of us, a HR professional in Kampala, Uganda, or rather in Ginger. So when you go there, you'll not only be promoting or rather enjoying the amenities that they have, but you'll also be promoting one of our professionals there. So please take advantage and visit Nilefront Cottages in Ginger. They have amazing views, and they also run the restaurant that is run by the people who are here who have hearing impairment. So the waiters there are deaf and dumb. So imagine what an amazing place to be, and you get to also support a noble cause. Then we have Elsamea, we have Labor Planet, we have Steadfast Quality Solutions. Now, Steadfast Quality Solutions are our partners in Kampala, Uganda. If you're looking for people to support you in managing your board members, board evaluations, board trainings, and HR consulting and public relations, then Steadfast Quality Solutions will be able to do that for you. And this is led by my good friend Herbert Zakir. And I hope, Herbert, you're on the call. It's really lovely. It's always a pleasure. And thank you very much for your partnership. We have K-Square HR Services. K-Square HR Services are our partners in Kigali, Rwanda. So for you looking for HR services in Kigali, Rwanda, you probably need to get in touch with K-Square HR Services. They do all end-to-end HR solutions, and they also have training opportunities as well. So K-Square HR Services also support us in Kigali. And if you're here from Rwanda, probably you received the invite from Steve Karangwa, who is the director at K-Square Services. And then we have Essence Park, we have Kapula Mintito, we have Panessa Training Institute, we have Wicklin, and we have Profiles International. Now, Profiles International is an organization that is the only one mandated to offer a GNOS emotional intelligence certification here in Africa. So if you're looking to become a certified emotional intelligence coach, then you need to take your certification from Profiles International. This is a course that cuts across all countries, so don't wonder whether it's for Kenyans only. No, it is for everyone. So it doesn't matter where you are. The courses have also been digitalized. Is that the right word to use? Anywho, but yes, Profiles International, they have a new class on emotional intelligence starting next week. And it's an amazing session to have. It goes on for 6 weeks, and then you can actually also use it for your organizations, but also if you want to run a business out of it, you can actually do that. And if you're also looking to run psychometric tests, then Profiles International will be the best people for you. And then we have Festac Africa Festival. This is a festival celebrating Africa. It is happening here in Kisumu from the 25th of August, and it will be running for the entire week. So please take advantage, come celebrate Africa, see what Africa has to offer, come meet with fellow Africans, and we need to continue having solutions for Africa by Africa. And then we have this event coming up. We are going to have a paid webinar on the 8th of August. And on that day, on that afternoon, it is going to be starting from 2 p.m. to 5 o'clock. And for IHRM members, you'll be able to get to 1 CPD point. And we will be discussing employment contracts management. And this is to give you a legal edge. So employment contracts, we're going to be looking at fixed term contracts, probationary contracts, the contracts between the independent contractors. I've had a lot of people who are freelancing, and there's a confusion. Somebody was like, I'm being treated like an employee and I'm an independent contractor. So we're going to be addressing such issues on the 8th of August from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at only 2,800. Please take advantage and come and learn on how to be a better professional in your organization, and also how to manage people. This is open for all line managers, because some of the line managers are engaged in this. They do not understand why you cannot fire people at whatever time, because the contractual agreement agrees otherwise. So please send your line managers. If you're a director, please join us, because this is going to be very impactful for you. And then we would like to invite you to the Africa Human Resource Summit. This is happening on the 22nd, or rather 21st to 23rd of August in Kigali, Rwanda. And as you can see on your screen, we have wonderful speakers lined up. From Kenya, we have Lawrence, we have Madam Kuresha, our Executive Director at IHRM. From Uganda, we have Rachel Dimba, among others. Quite a number of diverse speakers from Africa and beyond. I think even Mr. Tarek will be here from the United States of America. So this is going to be an awesome event. Please take advantage and join fellow African leaders and HR professionals in this amazing session that will be happening in Kigali, Rwanda on the 21st to 23rd of August. So enough of my announcements. And now allow me to welcome my good friend. She's one of the wonderful coaches that we have. And she has cut her own niche, actually, onto who she's coaching. And nonetheless, she's also an L&D. I remember she loves to say, whenever she's attending trainings, please do not kill us by PowerPoint. Those PowerPoint slides that you guys make that are full of words and cannot be, they're not facilitating a training. Anyway, that's a conversation we'll have. And I've seen Benson Motoko as well here. Benson, we are thinking of figuring out how to do Zoom with a French interpreter, so that we can also bring fellow Africans on board who are French speaking, and also any French speaking countries. It's not just open for Africans only. So happy HR month to all of you, and allow me to welcome Madam Susan Kiamba, who is a transitional coach. She's also an L&D expert. Karibu sana, Susan. Tell us about coaching and mentorship in organizations.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Grace. Happy HR month to all of us. Now, so one of the things I like to do is to have very engaging sessions. So good people, if you are hoping you will chill and I will tell you and you will just wait to ask me questions at the end, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, that is not how we are doing this today. Like Grace said, no death by PowerPoint this evening. So let's see if our thumbs are working. Um, Training, coaching, mentoring. Let me see. In the chat, let me know. I have a coach, I have a mentor, yes or no. So just say, I have a coach, I have a mentor. In the chat, tell me. Let's start it from a personal perspective and then we take it corporate perspective. I have a mentor, I have a coach. Tell me which ones you have. Let me see, let me see, let me see. Okay, so I see I have a coach, none. I have a coach, none, 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 none. Okay, both. I have a coach. I used to, and I hope that I used to means that the work you are doing with them was completed successfully and now you can run on your own. I have a mentor, none, 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 none. Okay. All right. I have a mentor, none, 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 none. Okay. All right. Twist on things now because we are talking about coaching and mentoring within organizations. Now tell me in the chat. Our organization has a mentorship and coaching program. Tell me which of those that you have within your organization. Mentoring coaching program. Do you have a formal one? Let me know. Formal mentoring and coaching program, let me know at your organization. Okay, so mentorship program, we have none. A few people saying none. Okay, none, none, none. Informal mentoring says Betty. Thank you, Betty. Okay, Peggy says mentorship, mentorship. Eunice, every man for himself. I can feel that. I can totally relate to that. Okay, so I see quite a number of men. Okay, so you are all definitely in the right place because okay, and they're starting soon and we need guidance. Awesome, fantastic. So as we go along, please drop your questions in the Q&A box. We will be taking them as we come along, or we will deal with them at the end, just so that we can focus on what it is that we need to say. Now, one of the things that I find often, okay, let me take a step back. Introduction. My name is Suzanne Kiamba. I am an executive and leadership coach. And in the coaching space, I actually work with banking professionals who've been working for more than 15 years and are now looking to transition out of banking or are looking to identify and get clarity on what their next step is, or they want to completely leave banking. So that's always a very interesting conversation to have. Then, in addition to that, I also work as a learning and development consultant, where I work with organizations. And what I help organizations do is just think through the entire cycle of learning and development, or essentially the cycle of talent development, because that's where your coaching and your mentoring falls in. Now, Sarah has a very, very good question. And that's the first thing we're actually going to be looking at. What is the difference between a mentor and a coach? But before I do that, very many times what you'll find is as HR professionals, you wear two hats. So there's the you who needs to be developed, and at the same time, there's the programs that you're developing for your people and for your team. And so what I find to be very interesting, having sat on both ends as a learning and development consultant and as a learning and development practitioner within an organization, is finding that perfect balance in ensuring that our people are retrained, they are trained, retrained, motivated, and they are essentially given support for developing throughout their cycle within the organization. Okay, so very good question that we have there. What is the difference between a mentor and a coach? And of course, before I walk you through what that is, I'm just curious to hear. So some of us have mentors, some of us have coaches. In your understanding, just let me know in the chat who is a mentor and who is a coach, or what are the differences between a mentor and a coach? In the chat, let me know, because I see a few of us have said we either have a mentor or we have a coach. And it doesn't have to be a technical explanation. It's essentially how you understand it. Okay. So Florence says a coach helps you discover your innate abilities. Rita says coach is short term, mentor is long term. Thank you so much both for sharing those insights. Anyone else? Who is a mentor? Who is a coach? Okay, so Betty says coach is hands off, mentor is hands on. Hi Sheila, awesome to see you here. Victoria says a mentor guides, a coach empowers. Lorraine says mentor gives answers or guides, and a coach gives questions, and you seek the answers by yourself. James says a mentor inspires and a coach models. George says coach specific to a goal, mentor holistic. Awesome. I want to thank all of you for just sharing your thoughts and your insights into the differences and who a coach is and who a mentor is. And I think it's a very good starting point for us because as we think about uh, talent development and as we think about coaching and mentoring our people, it helps to understand the place that both play within our organizations. And it's also very important to know how they are similar and how they are different. Now, if we think about talent development is essentially coming in the middle of your entire talent management process. So you've taken time to think about your strategy for people. You've taken time to think about how you will attract the right talent. You've onboarded them, they're excited, and then now within your organization, and you're wondering, how can we continue to inspire these people? How do we continue to get these people to be productive, to be motivated, and to continue being a very useful member of the organization so that they can move your organization from point A to point B, right? So you have your talent management coming somewhere in the middle. Now, within that whole talent development sector, we are looking at learning and development as one of the ways in which we can help people. So I can train you, but at the same time, over and above training, and I can speak about this from wearing my hat as a trainer, as a facilitator, and as a learning and development consultant, training will often help you fill the gap in terms of knowledge and sometimes with skill, depending on what the training is. But then when it comes to coaching and mentoring, you'll often find that true transformation, true change in behavior can only come about when you give people that additional support that you get through your coaching and that you get through your mentoring. Now, what is mentoring? What is coaching? So mentoring is often coming alongside somebody with either your lived experiences or your very good knowledge and understanding of an area and walking with them hand in hand so that they can essentially walk in your shoes. And I'm doing this from a layman's perspective because I think it's important sometimes to just keep these things simple. So the thing with mentoring is I can mentor my junior, I can mentor my senior, and vice versa. So many times when we think of mentorship, it's essentially guidance. Now, we have very many informal mentoring processes that go on day to day. So if you think about yourself when you started out as a professional, you probably knew another HR professional who's gone before you. So what did you do? You reached out and you said, hey, I'm having a challenge with payroll. Could you give me some support? An example. Alternatively, it could have been that you were actually wondering, do I want to specialize or do I want to remain a broad-based professional? So you went to somebody and asked, what do you think? Could you hold my hand as I'm walking through this journey, as I'm walking through this process? Very good example of what your mentor is and what a mentor will do and the role of the mentor. Now, on the other hand, we have a coach. Now, coaching is a very interesting space for two reasons. Because as we go along, we've often had that nowadays we are encouraging our leaders to use a coaching approach or to have leaders stepping in as coaches. So essentially, what we are saying with coaching is you have the answers, the coach comes and helps you to tap into that answer that you already have within you. So their role is to essentially challenge you. Their role is to evoke awareness within you so that you can find the answers to be able to move you forward. And that's why I say very many of the responses you've given are very on point because yes, a coach will bring out the best in you. Very many times when we're thinking coaching, we are thinking of something very specific. So for example, the CEO might say that I discovered that our head of or our director of sales is needing to step up because we are thinking of moving them into a more senior role, but they need support to be able to move from point X to point Y. While the CEO might mentor, it might make sense to have a coach step in and come and actually work with them to handle something very specific. So some instances is we've been invited into organizations to be able to help leaders to understand, for example, how do I lead through strength? So what are my strengths? How do I then take my strengths and use those strengths and apply them to deal with my everyday situation? So just some examples. So essentially all the responses you gave are very pretty much spot on. Now, I know one of the biggest challenges that comes up is when we're trying to formalize the process. Now, how then do you think about your coaching or your mentoring as helping strategies to support performance? How do you think about them and how do you incorporate them within your organization? So, first thing, like all things that have to do with development, it cannot work in isolation. You need the first thing, you need a structure. And when you're thinking about a structure, this is the framework or the goals that you'll be looking towards. So, why do we want to incorporate mentoring? Is a big question we want to ask ourselves. Why do we believe coaching is necessary within our organization? So having a structure for your coaching and your mentoring, and for those who've said that they want to formalize and to set up a structure around this, that's very important. So what is the structure that you are using? And often when you think about it, it one can be part of your overall development strategy, definitely needs to be part of that. But then you need to ask yourself, okay, so when we talk about our goals, now that we know we want to support, say, for example, we've noticed, and this is something that has I've been involved in before. So we've noticed that when our ladies within the organization get to a certain level, they hit a ceiling. So they do not seem to be going beyond this ceiling. And so we say, okay, fine. So how can we take the ladies who are further along within the organization and they allow them to hold the hands of those who are further behind and pull them up so that in the next 12 to 18 months, we are having more and more ladies step above that perceived ceiling. So what do? You think about it. Okay, so what is our goal? We want to see more women promoted from level 1 to level 2. How are we going to do this? We are going to do this through mentoring, and this mentoring is going to be at level X and level Y. Fantastic. Now, having done that, how do we select our mentors? How do we select our mentees? Who is it who then gets into this mentorship program? And for very many organizations, what you essentially will do is consider your top talent. So, for example, if as part of your management framework, you are using, as an example, here, organizations, you're going to be using different things. So, say, suppose you are using the 9-box model. And so you say, okay, fine. So we are going to identify our talent. We have been using the 9-box model. And therefore, based on this model, that is how we determine who the mentees are. And then how do we determine who the mentors are? Very many times it comes out of deciding who's already been known to actually want to hold people's hands and to walk with them and to move along with them, right? So first things first, structure. So you have your structure, you know your goals, you know why you're doing what it is that you're doing. First thing. Next thing we need to think about is having understood that, how do you build awareness? Because very many times, many of our talent development programs don't fly or they don't work as well because we haven't taken as much time to create awareness about what we're doing and why you're doing it so that you're actually creating buy-in within the organization. So you know what it is you want to do, now set out to get buy-in. How are you getting buy-in? You're getting buy-in by explaining what are some of the benefits that we are seeing from what it is that we are doing. What are some of the things that we are hoping to gain from what it is that we are doing? How are we choosing the mentors? How are we choosing the mentees so that it's clear to everybody who's involved exactly what it is that they can expect? And then, of course, once you've done that, you're able to now go off and you're able to roll out your whether it's your mentorship or whether it is your coaching program. All right. So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to ask if you have any questions, please drop it in the Q&A. In the chat, tell me, is this making sense? Is this useful to you? Just let me know in the chat. I'm just pausing to be able to do that. Okay, great. So I'm seeing making useful, making sense, is useful, making, okay. All right, fantastic. Right, so you have your structure. Now, then you have your structure, you have created your buy-in, and now you actually want to be able to roll out this program that you have in mind. Now, as you're thinking of creating buy-in, some of the benefits that you're putting forward is, for example, employee retention. Now, a while back, I did some research, and in my research, I was actually asking people, why are you thinking of leaving the organization that you want to leave? Who wants to guess in the chat? Tell me, what do you think was the top 2 reasons why people were thinking of leaving their organization? In the chat, tell me, what do you think are the reasons that people, okay, so there's culture, insightful, pay, mental health. Why do you think people were thinking they were leaving their bad bosses? Absolutely. Lack of authentic leadership, growth, toxic, toxicity, immediate supervisor, work-life balance, um, career ceiling created by the structure, stayed for
They
too
have
long,
also
bad
said salary.
supervisor. Bad supervisor. Yeah, I can see pay, work-life balance, mshahara, work hours, poor culture, lack of career growth, toxicity, environment, culture, salary, pay, unclear goal salary. I think it is safe to say that very few people actually think people live for pay, which is actually true. Culture is a huge determinant. Nice one, Audrey. Nice one, nice one, nice one. As to the reason why. So culture is a big one. And often one of the elements of culture is also around just the development aspect when you think about it. Like that, do we as an organization have a culture of developing our people? Do we have a space and that allows people to actually know that I will move from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 to step 5, etc, etc. Is my career path clear within this organization, or are we playing a guesswork game? And of course, part of the reason, like Richard says, part of the reason why people leave is because the job is no longer exciting. Now, I know from personal experience that your job might not be exciting, but if you know you are getting some additional support through mentoring and through coaching, that'll encourage people to actually stay. In fact, Gallup have done a research that found that people who are doing work that they enjoy or they feel that the environment is supportive are 6 times more likely to stay. So when it comes to making a case, you're essentially showing the numbers and saying, you know what, we understand our structure might not necessarily have me ready now to take on a new role. But if I'm being given some coaching, if I'm getting some mentoring as a way to help me bridge the gaps that I have, I am more likely to stay if I can see light at the end of the tunnel than if I don't. The other thing that makes a very good case for coaching and mentoring and having a formal coaching and mentoring program is essentially improving your performance and productivity. Now, when people have the knowledge, the skills, and the mindset to do the work that is required of them, they are definitely going to be more energized. They are going to be more excited to come to work every single day. And that shows up in your bottom line. And of course, we also use coaching and mentoring as ways to develop future leaders. It's a very, very good program to consider as you are thinking about succession planning, as you're thinking about developing your talent, and as you're thinking about having a pipeline of the skills that you need. Because in today's world, things are changing so fast and people have so many options. So we want to think about, and of course, we know that the cost of hiring and recruitment is astronomical because the energy, the time, the cost it actually takes to bring someone new on board. If you invested something similar in developing somebody who's already internally, you're more likely to actually see more cost savings in the long term than you are in the shorter time. And then, of course, there's the idea that coaching and mentoring and talent development as a whole build that culture of continuous learning. We know we are constantly learning. We know that we are being encouraged to be better at what we do, but better not just from a corporate perspective, but also as individuals. And of course, it creates a very positive work environment. Because if I know that you have invested your time, your energy, your money, and your everything as an organization in me, I'm more likely to give my 50% plus over and above the normal that I would do every day. And of course, if you think about mentoring is also very critical when we talk about things like knowledge transfer. So I've lost count of the number of organizations that lose out on the institutional wisdom that exists simply because somebody who has been there for 20 years took time to download a lot of what they knew on somebody who's coming in and has only been there for 5 years. Now, funny story, I used to work in this department where my boss had been with the department since it started. So she knew all the secrets. She knew essentially where all the bodies were buried. She knew it. So she knew if we couldn't find something in location X, you can probably check Y, Z, A, B, and C, and you're most likely going to find it in those alternative places that she has given you. What did she do? She essentially mentored everyone within that department, and she was never stingy with her knowledge. She was never stingy with what she knew and what was interesting to her in terms of helping her do her job better and helping all of us actually do our job better. So when you're thinking of that buy-in, as you're going to your directors and saying, this is a program we want to institute, those are some of the benefits that you're going to be selling. Those are some of the things that you're going to be saying. These are the reasons why we want to have a formalized coaching and mentoring program. And the reason I say formalized is because formalization gives it structure. So like the example I gave earlier, where we have seen as an organization that our women are getting to a certain level and not growing beyond that. What does this mean? This means that in 5, 10, 15 years, we won't be looking back and wondering when we're at the director level. We won't be wondering where are all the women, because we'll have been very intentional in holding their hands throughout the process to help them to that, get them to that level. So structure you have your buy-in. Now you need to roll out your program. Now, very many times, and the reason why I started out by actually asking us what we understand a mentor is and what a coach is because we think we know what mentoring is, we think we know what coaching is, but many times it's not necessarily that. And so having a very good understanding on those differences and being able to explain those differences is key. And part of your rollout phase of your program is essentially helping your leaders who will be doing, for example, who will be doing the mentoring to understand what is mentoring and how is that different from coaching, as an example. You'll also be taking the people who will be going through the program and helping them understand what is it that you're hoping to gain at the end of this whole program. So many times with mentoring, what happens is you have a structure with your mentor. So the times when I've gone through a formal mentorship program or we've set up a formal mentorship program, we will go in and we will say, these are the 5 areas that we'll be covering over the next 3 months, as an example, if it's that level of structure. And of course, the structure depends on your organization. Your structure is going to depend on what it is that what you're trying to solve for. So we'll go in and say over the next 6 months or the next 3 months, these are the areas that we're going to be covering between you and your mentor. And you're going to sit and you're going to agree. These are the areas, these are the times we will be meeting, these are the discussions we will be having. This is my commitment as the mentor, and this is your commitment as the mentee, so that everybody who's part of the process understands what it is that they are actually getting, giving, gaining, and what their outcome and the expectation is at the end of the whole process, right? So that's why you have your structure, so everybody understands what it is that they are doing. Now, that's on mentoring. On coaching, coaching can happen at several levels, like I've said before. So more and more, we are seeing that we are encouraging leaders as coaches. And so if you're encouraging your leaders to become coaches, essentially in the workplace, to be internal coaches, because they're internal coaches and you can have external coaches. So if you have a setup where you have coaches who are internal, they'll need to go through some sort of training. So are you going to take them through executive coaching training, or are you going to simply take them through a program, for example, of leader as a coach, so that they can understand on a day-to-day basis, what is the expectation of me as a leader? How do I incorporate coaching into my everyday conversations with my team members? That's internal coaches. And again, all these things are dependent on your organization. Some organizations are small, so we don't necessarily need to send our people out to get some high level coaching. You can actually just do a leader as coach program, and that is sufficient. But at the same time, you might decide that you want your senior executives to be coaches. And so you would invest in them getting that formalized coach training so that they're actually executive coaches who are able to coach at a higher level. Now, you have your internal coaches, leaders coach program, take them through it, help them understand what the requirement is. Or alternatively, and this especially happens at the more executive levels, is where you are talking about having an external coach come in and work with your senior executives for whatever goals that it is that you are trying to attain at that level. And again, very many times you're thinking about a very specific area that you want to help that person be able to develop in. So internal, external coaches, entirely up to you to decide as an organization. At the end of the day, you need to be able to measure your progress. So as you're also thinking about your program, so you have your structure, you have gotten your buy-in, you're also doing your rollout, you need to consistently be able to monitor and be able to measure your progress. How are we doing? So the goals that we set for this program that we're implementing, how are we doing against it? Are there certain areas where we are having challenges? Are there certain areas we need to rethink our model and our approach? Are there certain areas we can do better in? Essentially being able to track. And of course, you can only know this if at the beginning the goals that you set were very smart so that you can tell what it is that you're trying to achieve and so that you're able to tell how it is that you're growing and you're mentoring your people over time. And I think perhaps I should have said this at the beginning. And what I should have said is when you're thinking about mentoring and coaching, both of these programs are very long term in terms of seeing the results because transformation of any kind takes time. Change is hard. And often people don't change unless they want to change. So I remember being part of a coaching program where we had reluctant coaches. What then do you do then when you have a coachee who is reluctant to come in for coaching because they were told they have to come in for coaching? And anytime somebody tells you, I came because I was told by my boss I have to show up, then that's a very different conversation from somebody who comes in saying, I've come because I know I need help, and this is the area in which I actually need help and I need support in. So very important to know what your goals are and also very important to just get that buy-in. And also just understand some of the people you want to coach and mentor probably don't think they really, really need. And then the fifth and the last thing I will say before I invite people to ask any additional questions that they might have is celebrate the achievements from the progress that you will make. Very many times we start initiatives, they are exciting in the beginning, and we forget to take stock of how far we have come. We forget to celebrate the things that we have achieved together, to celebrate the ways in which our organization is growing and is transforming from where we were before to where we are here and now. So celebrate those achievements and celebrate your successes. Celebration here means have a graduation ceremony where you actually recognize and acknowledge the people who've gone through a mentoring program. Now, celebrate the leaders who are actually being very intentional in terms of stepping up in their role as coaches. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Celebrate because it allows people to take stock. Celebrate because it allows you as an organization to know what it is that you're achieving. And celebrate because it allows people to have hope that we can move, we can go further, and that my organization actually cares about you. So take time to celebrate your successes. Again, I'm going to pause here and I'm just curious. Now, who's thinking now I need a mentor and I need a coach? Just tell me in the chat. Who's thinking I definitely need a mentor, I definitely need a coach? Or we need this for our organization like yesterday. Right? Some people are saying I need both, I need a mentor. What is the meaning of being intentional? It has become deja vu. That's a very good question. Okay. All right. I know we had a few hands up earlier. So if you have some questions, just bring them up as I answer what being intentional actually means. Okay.
I think I can ask a few questions, Susan. I think
Yeah.
part of I think part of the biggest challenge about having mentorship programs in the workplaces is how do you match the mentors to the mentees? How do you go about it? Like, what are some of the strategies you can use to match the mentors and the mentees?
Okay. Awesome. That's a great question, and it will respond to the intentionality one. So being intentional is essentially saying we are doing this mentoring or we're doing this coaching program because we understand what it does for our organization. We are not trying to appear to be with it, but we're doing it because we truly understand its value. We truly understand the change that it can bring about, and we truly can see how it fits into our overall um, talent development strategy or our overall talent management strategy. So that's what intentional here means. You are not doing it for the sake of doing it. You're not doing it to tick a box, but you're doing it because you can see its value, you appreciate it, and you genuinely see it as being part of a bigger picture, not just for the sake of doing it. I've seen more than enough mentoring and coaching programs that are just tick box activities. Now, with matching, and that's why I said again, it depends on your organization, but with matching, there is one of two ways to do the matching. One of the ways to do matching is asking people to self-identify and self-nominate. Of course, that can get very tricky and very hairy depending on the size of the organization, depending on perceptions within the organization. Because you could easily end up, and have seen this happen, with one mentor who has 20 mentees and another mentor who has two, because one is perceived to be nice and friendly and the other one is perceived not to be nice and friendly. One way to do it, and again, depends on the size of the organization. The other way to do it that I found to be more effective is essentially thinking around the skills that are looking to be developed and matching skill gap with someone who actually has the skill that is seeking to be developed. So say, for example, somebody has a challenge with maybe advocating for themselves in the workplace. And this is somebody you've identified, you've seen this person has a lot of potential. With just a bit of hand holding over time, they would be able to step out of their shell and be able to do much more. So in that case, you'd ask yourself, who within our organization at a higher level already has this skill that we are trying to help this person to achieve, or that we are trying to help these people to achieve? And then you match it from a point of gap and the person who already has the skill. The other way to do it is essentially thinking we have people at level X, and the people at level X are the ones who will mentor the people at level Y. It depends on, of course, your goals. It depends on what it is that you're specifically trying to do. But those are three different ways you could think around it, and you could be able to do the matching. And sometimes, let's be honest, matching is not going to be perfect. I've had mentors and mentees both on both sides. I have been a mentor to someone within a corporate setup, and they just were not interested, and they didn't show up when they said they would show up, or they showed up for one meeting, didn't show up for another, and they could never quite give a reason why they weren't showing up. So wasn't a perfect match. But ironically, in that instance, they had said they needed to gain the skills that a few of us within that program actually had. So there's no such thing as perfect mentorship or perfect pairing. It's really testing and seeing what will work for your organization, and then using that um, to help people move from point A to point B. Because remember, part of the reason why you are also doing an evaluation and you're monitoring is essentially to make sure that it's working. And there's no way to know that it's working if you have no idea what you're measuring or what you're trying to fix or what you're trying to solve for.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then Victoria says, as an external person, how do you sell coaching, mentoring to a prospective organization?
Good question, Victoria. So at the end of the day, your whatever you're selling is a solution to something. So it's being able to match your program, whether it's a coaching program or a mentoring program, to a gap that the organization has. Let me give you a good example. So I have run mentorship programs for technology companies with new employees who they feel haven't necessarily mastered the art of speaking up and speaking out for themselves. Now, why was that important? Because they specifically wanted their new employees in tech to be able to speak up and share ideas and talk about what's going on and talk about what it is that they need. That's what that organization was looking for. I've had another organization say, we recognize while we are an amazing employer, our employees are not going to be here forever. So we want to empower employees beyond working with us. We want to give them tools for personal branding. We want to give them tools that allow them to present themselves, and we want to give them tools to help them interview well. Very unorthodox, but that was the philosophy of that organization. They didn't believe that they were there like forever. So they were giving them the tools and the skills in advance. So it was a match between this is what the mentoring will offer, this is what we actually need. And the same thing essentially happens for coaching. Now, when it comes to coaching, most organizations, at least my experience within Kenya, I don't always see it necessarily outside of Kenya, but it could still be a requirement. One of the things that they're very keen on when you're coming in as an external coach is, for example, are you ICF accredited? So they're very keen to see that you have formal training and accreditation through the ICF. So they might specifically say, we are looking for somebody at this level or at this level or at this level because of the kind of person that you would be working with. But simple answer, Victoria, to you is this: match the need with the program. And of course, if you can customize your program, even better, because then you are helping them think about what it is that they want to do. Then the other thing that I have also found to be useful is offering coaching and mentoring as a supplement to another development program. So, for example, if you are training salespeople, this is an example. If you're training salespeople, while sales is something I can tell you about how to sell, I can tell you about the process in class. For you to embed that process in a day-to-day sales situation, you need some additional support and some additional learning. And that's where you could say, I offer a sales program, and with it, I also do sales coaching or sales mentoring, where I work with your people for the next 6 months to get them from point X to point Y. So that's another way to be able to sell your mentoring and your coaching as part of another program that you're already giving to them.
And Maston says, how do you enhance commitment at the top leadership undertaking executive coaching against the backdrop of their busy schedules to be able to complete, to remain within the timelines?
That's actually a good question because this is a very common challenge within corporates in terms of getting commitment. So one of the things I found that is very helpful is one, if the top management and top leadership themselves have been through coaching, they can appreciate its value and its power. And so what I will often do is just have a very special and specific session for your top leadership to get their buy-in from a perspective of value to self and how it transformed you. And now you taking that value and translating it into the next level of leadership. Secondly, this is already part of a bigger strategy. That definitely always helps because then your quote unquote selling point is that this is part of our bigger strategy. I worked for an organization where the director, like the executive director, was very keen to implement coaching, and especially at the executive level with the executive. And so they set the ball rolling. They set the tone of expectation for their direct reports, and that trickled down. And so when you get the person who, and I like to call them the man, who is the person with the money, who's the person with the ability to say yes, and who's the person with the biggest need. So if this is something that is keeping your CEO awake at night, your CEO is going to definitely be a partner to ensure that it gets done. So essentially, it's also about finding the right person to pass across your message so that it gets buy-in and so that you're able to work around it. All that said, all programs should have some level of flexibility simply because life happens. We had an executive program running within an organization I used to work in, and then we had a crisis within the industry. And so while you'd want to keep on track and to keep on schedule with everything that is going on, the truth is in that moment, it had to be put on hold. So at the same time, it's also maintaining some level of flexibility to account for the differences or to account for anything that might come up in the course of your program.
Right. And then we have Eric who's saying, when monitoring, coaching, and mentorship programs, what are the key reporting areas to focus on?
Right. So coaching and mentoring. So again, it depends on your goals in the first place. So one, number of people mentored and coached could be one of the measures. Again, depends on why you're doing your coaching, depends on why you're doing the mentoring. How many people are you actually taking through your program? That is the first thing. Second thing, what are some of the direct impacts of this person going through mentoring, going through coaching? And direct impacts is going to be different. One of the programs that we ran recently, what we were looking for people to do at the end of the whole program was to be able to make a presentation to the senior executives within the organization. So that then was the measure. Were they able to make a presentation that met 5 different criteria at the end of that whole mentoring and coaching period? Did they tick the boxes? How many of those boxes did they then tick? So there's going to be a reason why you're mentoring people. There's going to be a reason why you're coaching people. If I'm coaching you in sales, I'm looking for some change in my numbers. So have your numbers moved from X to Y, or have they moved from A to B? So is it about confidence? How do you measure confidence? You measure confidence by putting people in situations where you require them to do something. So having an output at the end, and I've seen that especially in the mid to senior level kind of programs, a very common one that is put in as part of the gauge of completion is some sort of presentation. A presentation that encompasses everything that you have been learning and have been gaining throughout the period when you've been working with this person. So that is becomes very critical. And then the last thing I'd say as a measure is think about 360, especially when you're thinking about executives, because executives will tend to work with many different stakeholders, not just a single person. So you want feedback from the person themselves, you want feedback from their direct reports, you want feedback from their boss to understand, okay, this person came in because they were having a challenge with maybe executive presence. This is random example. Okay, so what are their direct reports saying? Is this person able to clearly articulate what it is that they are wanting to do? Ask their shareholders, ask the people that they interact with, ask their peers, ask their boss, how is this person now dealing with this thing? So all this to say, your goals will determine what it is that you're measuring. But those are some of the areas in which you could actually measure the success of your coaching and success of your mentoring.
Wow. And I like the fact that you've also said that it's not cast on stone, because I think sometimes you start on programs and then you realize, wait a minute, these are the issues. And then instead of tackling the issues or dealing with the issues, people start giving up. And sometimes also we are still running at IHRM. They run a program called Transcend, which is a mentorship program. And last year it was a huge success. So this year we got applications from over 500 people.
Wow.
And I think that was one of the biggest challenge because those numbers were extremely high. So it is something that now became a bit of a challenge in terms of from matching the people to also following through. And also you have these people who volunteer as mentors, then they get hired at the end of the day. But it's amazing because we have people who have really been committed. And I think next month is a graduation for the mentees who have also gone through that program. So in terms of being flexible and just being able to come up with solutions when you're dealing with some of these things, I think it's really, really key. And for those of you who are looking to establish mentorship and coaching programs, I think Susan, you can also share your contacts or something, how they can reach you
Yeah.
for further consultation. And she's an amazing coach, by the way, so you need to also take advantage of that and be able to pay. Oh yeah, she's very specific about who she coaches. But however, I think she'd be able to be a consultant for you, or even train your team members on how to run the coaching program. So Eric says, one of the challenges we have faced implementing coaching and mentorship at our organization is involvement and acceptance by employees. What are some of the things we can change to ensure everyone is on board and make them appreciate its importance?
That's actually a good question. And of course, it's a common challenge. And I think the starting point of your mentoring and your coaching program is very critical. Now, one of the most successful programs I have run, and also one of the most successful programs I have been part of, started from a point of self-awareness that we are doing this program to help you become a better version of yourself. So the foundation of your mentoring and coaching makes a very big difference. So in this mentoring program that I was part of, we started off by doing a very simple disc assessment, like a free disc assessment. And in session one, people took time to actually discover, who am I? Because when you understand yourself better, you're able to take that awareness and it helps you be able to value the diversity of others. Once you value the diversity of others, you're able to be able to know how to build rapport with them. And then that moves into the next step, which is co-creation. So when you have people coming from a foundation of, I'm increasing my self-awareness. The reason I am in this program is not because we want to give anyone more work. It's not because, yes, we know at the end of the day it's going to improve productivity, it's going to improve performance. But starting from a foundation of it's about you and it's about getting to know yourself better. And once you know yourself better, then you can become a better version of yourself in your everyday life, personally and professionally. That is way more buy-in and works much faster than anything else. And the other thing you probably would have seen is people like to know themselves, to talk about themselves, to know why they are the way they are, and to know why they behave the way they do. And so I've seen similar program, but done on the basis of the Gallup Strengths Assessment. And people all got to understand these are my strengths. This is why I'm naturally the way I am. I've actually seen several programs done with different tools, but the basis, self-awareness. Because the more aware I am, then I'm able to see why this is important and why I can do more of this. And it takes away that feeling that you're adding more work. Because I'm not adding more work, I'm helping you know yourself better. When you know yourself better, then you work better with others. When you work better with others, inevitably you enjoy coming to the office and you enjoy being part of that organization. When you inevitably want to be part of an organization, you go above and beyond to deliver. And when you do, the ripple effect is that the organization as a whole benefits. And of course, Eric, this is a very general answer. There might be things like this that you've already tried and done. So if you'd like to speak specifics, definitely something we can do. Now I see Grace's hand is up, and I see there's a question from Sarah before where she was asking, can you do a hybrid between coaching and mentoring? Absolutely. At the end of the day, both coaching and mentoring are investments. An investment not just in time, not just in the human resource, but also investment sometimes cost-wise if you're thinking of bringing somebody external in. So that's why it goes back to what's the goal? What are we trying to achieve? Very many times at the lower levels within the organization, people who are just starting out, stepping into supervisory or moving from supervisory into mid-level management are more likely to benefit a lot more from mentoring. And again, mentoring, remember, can go both ways. So there's reverse mentoring, where you can have in today's day and age, for example, you have your Gen Z employees can actually teach you a lot about some of the technology you might not know about. So you can definitely play around with the coaching and the mentoring and see what makes sense for which level. But generally, coaching tends to be talent people you have actually identified and said, this is somebody we are earmarking who could be, for example, our future CEO or our future CEO or people at the senior executive going into C-suite level, those ones will benefit the most from coaching. Not to say that they can't benefit from mentorship, but at that level, coaching is what makes more sense and is more impactful and powerful for them. Thanks everyone for these amazing questions that you're asking. Do we want to
We have
hear from Grace?
yeah. Grace Geshovi, you can unmute yourself. We can see your hand is up, or was it your hand walking around? Grace Geshovi? Okay. I think it was whatever. But that's amazing, Susan. I think there's a lot that we can do through coaching and mentorship. And I think it goes beyond just the normal training. And I think most organizations need to really embrace coaching and mentorship as part of the talent management strategies, especially because training only one day of information and then you are expecting people to deliver, I tell you, it does not work.
So I actually consulted with an organization in the development sector. They have a whole unit whose singular role is coaching and mentoring.
Wow.
That's the only thing that team does. They provide the resources in terms of people. So they train internal coaches. So what they've done is they've gotten their program accredited by the ICF. So now they can run it internally for the organization. So people who are interested in becoming internal coaches go through the internal program, and then they are the ones who actually coach the people within the organization. Then
Wow.
coaching and mentoring is open to everybody. All you simply need to do is reach out, put in your request for whether you think you need a coach, whether you think you need a mentor, and then they do the matching based on skill and based on the area in which you want to develop. So they have people who have, because in the development sector, you have some people who are in the office and you have some field staff. So if somebody is in the field, but they're thinking, I want to be more administrative, they can actually get somebody to mentor them or to work with them to move from the field into admin. But I thought that was amazing that they literally have a whole unit that purely their focus is coaching and mentoring. I had never seen it anywhere else before done in that exact way. So I think it was pretty interesting.
Talk of being intentional, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. And Victoria, do you think it's a good idea to start a small pilot program, perhaps for 3 to 6 months, then sell its success to the rest?
Absolutely, Victoria. Pilots always help because it helps you to, I guess, we could say, iron out the kinks or iron out any challenges or anything about your program that is not working. Of course, the key will be finding the right people to pilot with so that they are speaking happy things about the program and they are not the ones who are pulling you back from the program. Now, within any organizations, you'll always find ready champions. So if you can find those champions, those people who are already very excited about the idea, those would be good people to pilot with because then they give you very creative and very good feedback that is developmental rather than criticism about the program and why the program would never work. And having said all this, please also, I'm sure some of us have seen this, expect some backlash. So I remember when I worked in banking, we would have programs that were designed from a certain level going up. And those of us who are not at that level at that time used to really complain. Like, you people just pick level X to take them for this special training, to take them for this coaching, to take them for this program, and the rest of us never benefit from it. So you also want to be able to have something that allows everyone to feel that they are part of whatever development initiatives that you have. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, I've seen so many organizations now, and I'm sure Grace, you see this all the time. Lunch and learn is now a real thing. you know.
Kabisa.
And I have seen techies do lunch and learn. I was so amazed. They are so efficient. Like chop, 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 it's done. And when I ask people, so why is it so quick? Why is it like this? They're like, oh, we've discussed this and we concluded this is the only format that works. And we get to hear from the CEO and the top three execs within the organization for at least 10 minutes every day for that within that 30 minutes. And we are done. And everyone was actually happy. So it made sense. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially when you're trying to change culture. I think lunch and learn really works because it doesn't have to be complicated. It's simple bites. We are at an age where learning has now become bit size. So these programs for a whole day training of the same person, you become overwhelmed with information. And also the fact that the world requires of you to really move around or run around. So sometimes it's difficult. Now, I have seen a few comments of people saying Purity has said that she runs a small organization and she's been coaching them and she has seen significant change. Wafula says he has seen organizations who include mentoring and coaching from as part of their policies. So thank you guys for your contribution. And we really appreciate that you came here. Please remember to join us on the 8th of August for the paid webinar on the contract management of employees. And of course, you can also get in touch with Susan. Susan, I don't know how we can get a hold of you. I don't know whether you prefer LinkedIn or email for Susan is there. You can also get a long, or rather, here's a lot about leadership program. Is this mentoring and or coaching?
All
Emily, I'm
right.
not sure what your question is, but maybe Susan,
I
you can
think
try.
she's asking if leadership programs are about mentoring and about coaching. And it depends on the leadership program. So some leadership programs are designed with coaching elements. So for example, um, we run, and when I say we, I mean a few of us who are doing the program together. We had a 3-month leadership program that had 3 modules that were in-person training. But then in between the modules of in-person training, we had coaching, group coaching. So you see, in this case, it's a combination between training and coaching. I've also seen programs that run for a year. And within that year, you get all three. You get training, you get coaching, you get mentoring. So again, it depends on the leadership program and it depends on the design of the leadership program because every program has an outcome that's expected. So if your outcome is longer term, it's about engaging and it's about also having embedding learning, behavior change, transformation. It probably will have some training elements, some mentoring elements, and some coaching elements. So my email is susan@susankiamba.com. I also spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. If you'd like to reach out to me on LinkedIn, that would be fantastic. Grace, should I give my number? Entirely up to me.
Sorry. Yes, entirely up to you. Remember, you're on YouTube Live, so it's entirely up to you.
Entirely up to me. You
But you
can,
can type
yes,
it on the chat.
yes,
Yeah,
I'm typing up in the chat.
yeah, yeah.
So if
That's
you'd
what.
like to reach out, that would be great. Just reference that we were here together. Because in today's day and age, I get the most interesting messages where people just go into exactly what they're saying, and you're wondering, okay, who are you? Where did we meet? How can we connect? But yes, if you still have any questions about your mentoring, about your coaching, even about your training, anything learning and development, that's my space. So when we're preparing for this, we're actually laughing with Steph and saying, we can talk about these things the whole night, and not have to think too hard because it's part of what we do every single day. It's what excites me, it's what lights me up, it's what I do a lot with organizations. So helping them conceptualize learning at the different levels, helping them think through how they develop their leaders, what do they do with new hires, how do they make sure that everybody is where they need to be doing what it is they need to do, and they are motivated in the process. And of course, having been through a lot of this stuff myself, in terms of having been through mentoring, formally and informally, having been through coaching formally and informally, and then working with organizations to implement them, I'm able to borrow from all my collective life experience. My lived experience helps me every single day. So please feel free to draw from it at any point in time. I am more than happy to help you along the way. And as always, Grace, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
So Winnie says, I'm saying, please tell us about the best practices for both mentorship and coaching. So best practices, one, have very clear goals and have very clear outcomes. Why are we doing what it is that we are doing? As much as possible, build in moments of reflection, a lot of reflection in terms of self-reflection on the progress, on the process, on what the outcomes are. It helps for both. Then seek feedback, think about it in terms of formal feedback about the program, but also feedback from your mentor and mentee, feedback from the coach and the coachee, so that you're knowing what's working, what's not working, what can we do differently. And of course, I will still say it again, flexibility, 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 very, very important, because sometimes you start a program thinking it will run one way, and then you discover it actually needs to be tweaked a little bit to be able to adapt to maybe a changing situation or to changing circumstances. So formalize clear goals and expectations. Get your feedback, very, very important, from all the parties who are actually involved. And then be very, very, very flexible, because things change as you move along.
that's very, very, very true. So your parting shot, Susan.
My parting shot is to applaud us for considering having your mentoring and having your coaching as part of your talent development strategy. Because I think we spend a lot of time thinking about how we bring people into our organization, and we think about how we'll bring them in, what are the benefits we'll give them. But once they're in, it's very easy to forget. And it's very easy to focus on the easy piece, which is training. It's very easy to bring people into a class, tell them, and send them off. But it's more hard, but really, really, really has far-reaching effects when you add on the elements of coaching and mentoring, simply because it has long-reaching, lasting effects on you, on the individuals, on the organizations, and of course on the perception of the HR team. Because at the end of the day, you want people to say you are the employer of choice because you took time to develop them even further beyond the knowledge. You went into the skills, you went into the competencies, and you developed them as a whole person rather than just one element of them as a person. That's my passing short.
Excellent. Thank you. Susan, it's always a pleasure to have you. Always a pleasure listening to you. And I am grateful that you've gone through some of these things, because then it becomes very practical when you're interacting and supporting the talents in our organizations. So for you, our audience, we really thank you for taking the time to be here. Please join us on our WhatsApp group and get to know what's happening on Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. July, like I said, it's HR month, so we are dedicating our conversation to HR conversations, and that means that we will be discussing quite a number of things that affect the human resource, or rather things that support the human resource development for you guys. So keep it here every Tuesday for the next couple of weeks, and if you want to know more, please join our WhatsApp group. And also, if you want to join the conversation with Peter Kinyanjui on contracts, which will get you 1 CPD point for the IHRM members, then you need to, there's a link there on the chat. You can register through it. If you want to also get to know what we're discussing today, or rather catch up and review the conversation today with Susan, it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and just get to review. You know, sometimes I keep saying, you might say that you don't have time for talent development and personal development especially, but you have free sessions on YouTube that's an hour long. So don't sit in traffic and wondering what do you do with yourself and start counting the vehicles. You need to, and sleeping, and you already slept. listen to some of these channels, or rather conversations, because they will help you, and this is free. We are not asking you to pay, so please take advantage of these conversations and be able to develop yourself. We are on a mission to change the world through information. Please be as informed as you possibly can, and of course reach out to the experts that we bring on board to give you support and more personalized services to you. So thank you very much, Susan. Thank you for preparing for this. And I hope that God opens more doors through this for you as well. And Brian Mosisi, even when you're chewing some mabuyu, of course, Kapula Mwintito is very kind to us on mabuyus. And we are very glad to bring the mabuyus. And I am excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing the photos of the Brian Mosisi is from HR Mau, which is the HR Association in Uganda. I am excited about your sports day, and I look forward to seeing the photos. And you better send me a clip of you playing, because I can only see Andrew playing. I have never seen you. But yeah, so thank you very much, guys, for joining us. And thank you, Susan. Thank you, Catherine. You guys are wonderful. And of course, thank you, the team at Tatara Solutions. You guys make this happen. Asanteni sana. See you next Tuesday. Same time, same place, as we discuss another matter that affects the HR operations or HR management in our institutions. So until then, have yourselves a good night. Please follow us on YouTube, or rather subscribe to our YouTube channel, Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. Follow us on Instagram at Tara Solutions. Like our Facebook page at Tara Solutions. And you can follow us on Instagram as well at Tara Solutions. And you can also follow me personally, or even Susan Kiamba. We are on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, guys, and see you next Tuesday as we tackle in another topic that is very hot. We are the official trendsetters, so you better keep it here to keep up with the time. So asanteni sana and good night.